Alright, fantasy players. I know, I've been a really, really bad commissioner lately. I missed 2 weeks of not posting a game of the week and the results. Traveling, work, whatever excuses, nothing comes before fantasy football. So, I'm going to try and make that up to you tonight. Happy Halloween, by the way. I'm going to make that up tonight with my mid-season recap and prediction for how the rest of the season is going to play out. We're 7 games down. We have 6 left before playoffs, and we got some pretty interesting stuff going on. So, I'll jump right into it. Right now, just past the halfway mark of the season, you can break down all the teams into 3 groups. 3 groups. First group, teams that are pretty set to make the playoffs. Unless something goes really weird, this first group of teams are sitting pretty. These teams, there's 4 of them, and they're in the first and second place in both divisions. You have Got Jilk, Zack Attack, Killer Tomatoes, and BK. Got Jilk and Killer Tomatoes are both 6-1. Zack Attack and BK are 5-2. So, how do these teams play out? Well, here's the interesting thing. I predict all these teams are going to make the playoff because even though slide, they'll still only play slide until a playoff spot. But Zack Attack versus Got Jilk this week. Number 1 versus number 2. Game of the week. Right there. Boom. If Zack Attack beats Got Jilk, stays right in it. They're both now 6-2, and they're probably both going to stay at the top. However, if Got Jilk beats Zack Attack, which would be unlikely, even though Aztec for Life just snapped Zack Attack's 7-game win streak, thanks a lot. If Zack Attack loses now, he could possibly drop down to the second group, which I'll get into next. And Got Jilk will be holding on to sole leadership in the East. Interesting thing is here. Of those 4 teams that I just mentioned in the first group, Got Jilk plays Zack Attack this week. Then Got Jilk plays Killer Tomatoes next week, which is going to be next week's game of the week. Following that, Zack Attack plays Killer Tomatoes. So of the top 4, 3 of these teams are all going to play each other within the next 3 weeks. That's pretty exciting. So, very, very, very important games coming up. This is really where you want to look. Who's got bye? Who's going to have their injuries? Who's going to have to drop down to their bench and pick up players? I know Zack Attack and I think Killer Tomatoes have already gotten past their bye week for their quarterback. So, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, they're going to be in for those games. So, interesting stuff is going to happen in the next 3 weeks in that first group to see if any of those teams are really going to slip down too far. So that's the first group. I'm going to go to the third group now and skip the second group. The second group I want to spend some time on. The third group now, these are teams that are done. I'm calling it right now. It's the halfway point in the season. These teams are done. There's 3 teams. Reno Rush, Hook'em, and Bills Bills. Bills, last year's champions. Right now, 2-5. They have a chance. They're technically only 2 games out of a playoff spot. However, they're going to have to do a lot to work their way back up into those playoff spots. So I'm putting them into the third group right now. Hook'em and Reno, 0-7. 0-7. You have to try to be 0-7. I think maybe they might think it's like the NFL, where if you come in last place, you get the first pick. We haven't put that rule in, so if you're trying to play for losses, just stop. It's embarrassing. 0-7. I don't think we've had an 0-7 team this far into any of the previous 5 seasons, and now we have 2. It's incredible. It is incredible. And the thing is, it's not like they're making horrible decisions or they're just leaving a whole bunch of people on bye weeks on their roster. They're actually, they're working some roster stuff. Hook'em had the best draft out of any team in the draft. And they're 0-7. Incredible. Mind-boggling. Don't give up. Learn some lessons. Develop your roster. Maybe get a couple wins, but you're done. You're not making the playoffs. Don't give up, though. But you're done. All right. Now back to the second group. The second group, this is where really the crux of the league is going to get divided up. These are all the teams that are sitting on the bubble making the playoffs. So, I'll remind you. Each division has 9 teams. 4 teams go to the playoffs. Because we added 2 teams this year, one in the East and one in the West, it makes it a lot harder to make the playoffs. Next year I might revisit the playoff situation and maybe open up to where more teams can get in the playoffs. But right now, less than half the teams in the division will make the playoffs. That being said, in both divisions, the majority of the teams are only 1 game out of a playoff. 4 and 3 right now in both divisions is a playoff spot. 3 and 4 is 1 game out, and that's where all the teams are. You have the Shirleys in the East. You have the Shirleys, Aztec for Life, Replacement, all 4 and 3. Then you have John's Tigers and Team Chong, 3 and 4. With half the season left, those teams can play out anyway. In the West, you have Braves Bozos, Blue Bayou, and Purple Ruse, all 4 and 3. Then you have Martin's Monsters, Bye Week, and Jared Jellyfish, 3 and 4. So again, all those teams definitely have a chance to make the playoffs. So I missed giving you guys updates for last week, so I'm going to make it up here. It might be a little bit longer, but I'm going to make it up, and let's take a look at some of these teams here. So, the Shirleys, they've been a solid performer. Good chance that they're going to be able to hold on. Aztec for Life, one of only 2 teams to beat Zack Attack, threw up 34 points. Definitely can make it. Now let's start diving into the West. Braves Bozos started out rockstar at the beginning of the season. Had some hiccups since then, but they've turned it around and they've had some big wins. Blue Bayou, they need it. They need it. It'd be embarrassing to come home, and not have a ring when everyone else in the family does. But Killer Tomatoes doesn't. But anyways, so let's look at the schedule here. All right, by team. All right, the Shirleys. For the rest of the season, they got BK. That's going to be a tough game. Besides that, they got Jared's Jellyfish. But really, I think the Shirleys are going to make it because of their remaining games. They play Hook'em and Bills. Both that I categorize as not making the playoffs. So those are 2 guaranteed wins right there. So that's why I think Shirleys are going to be in. Aztec for Life. Where are you? There you are. Aztec for Life. They're playing Reno Rush, so there's a guaranteed win. Then they're also playing Hook'em. There's a guaranteed win. Besides that, they only have to deal with Martin's Monsters, Jared Jellyfish. Let's say they get one of those games and lose the other one, and then they lose to BK. At the end of the season, they're looking to close out pretty well, so that's why I think they're also going to make the playoffs. Moving on, let's go to the Replacements. Replacements playing BK and Got Jilk. They also have Hook'em and Bills. So let's say they split those games evenly, 2 wins, 2 losses. And then it comes down to John's Tigers. Who knows how that game's go? If they win that, they're going to finish out 3 and 2. If they don't win that, they're going to finish out 2 and 3. I really think that John's Tigers game is going to decide whether Replacements makes the playoff or not. Blue Bayou. Zack Attack next week, so count that as a loss. Reno Rush, count that as a win. BK, count that as a loss, and then it really just comes down to Martin's Monsters and Jared's Jellyfish. So, can Blue Bayou take care of Martin's Monsters and Jared's Jellyfish? They'll be in the playoffs. We'll see. Killer Tomatoes are already in. Shirley's got those. Those Bills are out. All right, Team Chong. Here's a team all over the place. They'll have a great roster, and then they will forget to set it, and it really hurts them. A couple wins here and there, but really is a majority of losses. That's why they're 3 and 4. This team can still do it, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. They've got BK, which they're going to lose. They've got Hook'em and Bills. So maybe they can pull out the wins against those. Maybe they give Hook'em their first win. But I think they're going to lose to Martin Monsters and Jared's Jellyfish. So let's go to Jared's Jellyfish. Jared's Jellyfish taking a win against Team Chong. I think they're going to beat Reno Rush. I think that they're going to lose to Aztec for Life. They're going to maybe take one of the Shirleys or Blue Bayou. So, Jared's Jellyfish, this is, I think, the biggest on-the-bubble team. It really comes down to how well they can finish out the season. But they were on a good win streak there for a while, and it kind of fell off their last 2 games. Martin's Monsters. Martin's Monsters has not been able to put together a string of wins. They went through a tough 3 loss, got 2 wins, and then have gotten 2 loss. They're going to turn around. I think they're going to beat Team Chong this week, or next week. Then Aztec for Life. I think that's going to be a tough one. But I think they'll finish up against Blue Bayou and Reno Rush, and then finish up with a loss to Zack Attack. Martin's Monsters, another team. I'd say they're just in the same category as Jared's Jellyfish. really on the bubble. Really on the bubble. I would say this is one of both those teams. Maybe they don't have their future in their own hands. All right, Brady's Bozos. Brady's Bozos starts off 4 wins in a row, crushing it. Drops the previous 3, and now they're playing Hook'em this week, so they could pull out a win against this week. Maybe stop that losing streak. They need a win this week against Hook'em, so don't give Hook'em their first win. Then next week they got Bills, another good chance they can win that. Finishing up with John's Tigers. They could string in 3 wins in a row right there. Bam, I think they're right in the playoff spot. Then they got Joke and Killer Tomatoes. So they really, Brady's Bozos really needs the 3 wins in a row here before they face Got Joke and Killer Tomatoes in order to make it. So I'd say the next 3 games really decides the Brady Bozos season. Bye week. Bye week. This team, lose, then win. Lose, then win. When they score over 100 points, they're going to win. When they don't score over 100 points, they're not going to win. So they've got BK. I'm going to say they're probably going to have a tough time this week. Then Hook'em and Bills. There's 2 wins. Finishing up with John's Tigers, Got Jill, Killer Tomatoes. Put this team in the same category as Jared's Jellyfish and Martin's Monsters. They might not own their own future. It might be up to they might need some help in order to make it in. Let's see if I missed anybody. Okay, Jared Jellyfish, got Martin Monsters, Aztec for life. Aztec for life. Huge upset. 160 points. They threw up 160 points. The record so far for this season in points when they needed it to beat Zack Attack and snap a 7-game winning streak. So this team, what do they got down the stretch? They only have one of the top category teams, BK, left. Besides that, all these teams are definitely beatable. They're going to take care of Hook'em. I think that they'll take care of Martin's Monsters and Jared's Jellyfish, which is a reason why I say Martin's Monsters and Jared Jellyfish don't own their own, they're not in control of their own future. So I'd say Aztec for life. I'd say this is probably the strongest of the Category 2 teams that's going to make it to the playoffs, but we'll see. So, John's Tigers. John's Tigers had some good wins and have really slipped since then. They have had trouble putting up points. And then this week they're going to lose to Killer Tomatoes, who already has 50 points just on Tom Brady. Yeah, I think John's Tigers, they're bottom side of the Group 2. They can prove me wrong, but I'm saying that this is not how they normally perform regular season. In the previous years, regular season, this is where we see John's Tigers really at the top of the league, but just not happening this year. All right, I think that sums up everybody. Let me make sure I didn't leave anybody out. Team Chongan, Bills, Reno Rush, Shirley's, okay. Yeah, so recap. 3 categories. The teams that are really strong going to make it in there. Got Jill, Zack Attack, Killer Tomatoes, BK. Keep in mind they're all playing each other in the next 3 weeks. For the most part, BK is the only one that's free of that. Then you have the bottom category, Reno Rush, Hook'em, and Bills, who we're going to count those as automatic wins for everyone else for right now, unless there's an upset. And then you have the majority, the big bulk. These are going to be the teams that they either need some help or they need to make some big wins to make it to the playoffs. So, game of the week, Got Joke for Zack Attack. Huge game. And then next week it'll be Got Joke and Killer Tomatoes, and the week after that it'll be Killer Tomatoes and Zack Attack. So, I'm back. I'm going to keep doing these updates, and good luck to everyone. Please remember to set your lineups. Happy Halloween, and it's down to the stretch. We're getting there. If you want a playoff spot, got to set that lineup. Commish out.